Are you terrible at Geometry Dash? No! I'm not! Sorry, I got super defensive.
Do you ever feel like you're not good enough at the game? No matter what level you beat and how much time you spend on it, you simply feel like you're never good enough. You think that once you beat a demon level, you're gonna finally be good enough.
I'm boosting the volume, sorry,
Then
chat.
it's a hard demon, and then you think that beating an extreme demon will fix that feeling. But when you end up beating the extreme demon and you still realize that you aren't good enough, then it becomes a problem. What is good enough in Geometry Dash?
Zonk.
What is a bad player? What is the point at which you're better than average? And when you get into competitive play, does the answer change? By the end of the video, you will have the answer to all of these questions. But first, we have to set some definitions.
Okay.
First, what is good enough in Geometry Dash? I think a good
Whatever level I'm currently at and nothing else.
definition for a good enough player is one that can play most of the difficulties in the game. Considering
Never mind, I was wrong.
that the game has tens of thousands of levels ranging from 1 star to just a demon difficulty, you could theoretically be a good enough player without even having to beat a demon at all. Say for example, you manage to beat all of the Rob Top levels except for the demons, and you can be any rated level until the 10-star difficulty. I would generally say that you are a good enough player. Because, for instance, if there's 100,000 rated levels, out of which, let's say, half are demons, you can already beat half of the levels that are rated in the game. I'd say that's pretty good, since someone who would have just gotten the game wouldn't even be close to being able to do that. So, if that's what a good enough player is, what is a bad player? Well,
there's no such thing as a bad player. The only bad player is someone who is mean to other players. In this essay, I will...
definition for what a bad player is hard. I'd say that a bad player is barely able to play most levels. Unlike what we just talked about, this sort of player doesn't even fully understand the game. He sees things on the screen moving, but he can't understand it. He doesn't...
I mean, by that definition, you could say that a bad player is someone who has simply never played Geometry Dash before, right? You could simply say that the vast majority of the human population is a bad Geometry Dash player, which is fine, but maybe it's something different.
Exactly know what every
I feel like we can do better here.
Does, how every game mode works, and he just isn't able to beat most rated levels that aren't even demons. He's only able to beat them in practice mode and would struggle very hard otherwise. Essentially, a bad player in the game is the opposite of what a good enough
Every video uses Bloodbath, bro. It haunts me.
player is. So now the question is, when are you better than average? The issue with
I think we talked about this before, chat. Isn't it like only like 50% of players have beaten Deadlocked? Or it's something crazier than that, right? Someone has the stat. Like in the Steve achievements, isn't it like Deadlocked that only 50% of players have beaten? Or maybe it's only like 3%.
answering that is that it depends on who you count as a GD
Anyone
player.
got the stat?
Do we count only current active players? Do we count players of all time? Say, people that were active 5 years ago? Do we count every person who played the game once? Maybe every person who played for a minimum of 1 hour?
I would count, typically with every game, it's just like the total amount of people who have joined the player base. So yes, even if you played Geometry Dash once and then you dropped it, that still counts you as part of the statistics of a Geometry Dash player.
What is the standard?
Yeah, it must be lower than 50%, no? Also, a lot of people, they go way past Deadlock difficulty and they never even beat it. So maybe that's also a bad barometer.
Because I'm not an international corporation, I do not have this data.
Like a lot of people only play custom levels.
But for the sake of the video, I'm going to cover one of these, and that is all-time players, including very casual players. Because as big as the core...
No, I agree. Because if you try something once, even if you're casual, you're still a part of the population.
Geometry Dash competitive community is...
Because like if we make it some weird granularity of like what is and isn't like a non-casual player, then the data is just going to become obstructed by like weird kind of like hearsay, like I think this, you think that.
The game is bigger among casual players, so I think it's fair that we add them in here. So the question now becomes, when are you better than the average player in Geometry Dash, including people who play the game casually every now and then, or that play it...
39% of players ever beat a demon, just checked on Steam. All right, yeah. I mean, that's probably the point he's going to get here, is that, you know, a demon is, just beating a demon is above average, which I would believe, you know? A lot of people are just, I think that when you're, like, firmly ingrained in the Geometry Dash community, it's easy to lose sight of that. But yeah, like, a lot of people are just playing, like, non-demon levels, just to kind of, like, mess around
in their free time on MOBA. And my answer to that is beating a medium demon. I think a very good example of a player that enters the casual part of the game is Jinxie. He's been able to beat every drop top level apart from Deadlock.
When was this video made? Okay, yeah, it's very recent.
It's commonly referred to as a medium demon. I'd personally say that if you manage to beat all of the drop top levels, including Deadlock, then possibly one.
But that requires nuance, since there's a lot of people who don't use Steam to play GD. Yeah, don't get it twisted. We're not using Steam to get like a perfect data set. We're using the Steam's information to extrapolate and make assumptions based off of that data set, right? It's not a perfect one-to-one, but it's fair that like the Steam player base is mature enough that we can kind of draw greater conclusions from it. Is it like perfect? No. But is it the best we got? Kind of.
Or online rated medium demons,
we can still make meaningful conclusions off of it.
Player. Because a casual player like Jinxie, even after putting tens of hours in the game, was not able to do this. It isn't an easy achievement for most people, and it will take a while to get.
By the way, since it came up, I started playing Geometry Dash 2 months after Jinxie did. I beat Deadlock before him.
So this is my answer.
Only time I'm always going to glaze myself. Sorry.
When it comes to what is a good player, what is a bad player, and when you are better than average. One thing I didn't mention, however, is that the skill ceiling in the game is so high, you need to differentiate these questions between the normal side of Geometry Dash and the competitive side.
Is that loud? Dude, the Grief song is so good. Will there ever be like a level that has the freaking aura that Grief song has, bro? It's crazy.
Before we carry on with the video, if you enjoyed it so far, it would be awesome if you could subscribe. It's the only way I know.
Slaughterhouse? That's fair. I don't know, bro. I'm really happy to be a part of the GD community during the Grief grind era. It's such a movie.
Whether or not to keep making videos like these, and would also help me reach my goal of 10K by the end of the year. But anyway, let's get back.
Dude, I mean, maybe since you guys have been around for the Slaughterhouse era, maybe that colors your experience. Dude, something about the Grief song, hearing it build with Doggy's clicks in the background, bro, I don't know, dude. It feels so singular. But I respect Slaughterhouse. I respect. That's fair. That's fair.
To the video.
Bears.
Congrats. If you're better than everything mentioned before this point, you have now entered the competitive side of the game. By this point,
that build going into Griefer, bro, that's cinema.
A casual player would finish the game and have no real reason.
And it feels like the train's going off the tracks. God, it's awesome.
Playing. Now you're just doing so because you got addicted and want to see how far you can get. Anything beyond this point in the video is already a good player that is better than all of the casuals and better than average.
Yeah, that's a good point. Grief is basically my Slaughterhouse because this is like the first level of that magnitude of during which I'm a part of the GD community.
So, just for clarification, since I said the last step is beating a few medium demons,
yeah, for sure. I think since you guys were around during Slaughterhouse, I think that makes sense. I think that's the best thing we can land on. Slaughterhouse is to some of you the way Grief is to me. You know what? I respect that.
Consider the space between medium and extremes, so hard and insane demons, to be a transitional period. If you're at those difficulties right now, you're not a casual, but you're also not fully into the competitive side. You are in the middle. It's just a transition. The difference between casual and competitive play is absolutely huge. If in casual play, the biggest skill gap is between Stereo Madness and Deadlock, in competitive, the biggest skill gap is from Cataclysm to Grief. Yep, this game's hard.
It's
so
crazy.
hard, in fact, that you need to get to Extreme Demons from Stereo Madness first before you can even talk about playing competitively. Jesus Christ. Okay, so now let's ask the same questions, but for people actually playing competitively, actively trying to push their skill to their genetic limit and push the skill ceiling of the game further. Let's
Me, baby.
So, what is a good competitive player? If you said someone who beat an Extreme Demon, you'd be...
I would say a good competitive player is someone who is well aware of their own limitations, but is not discouraged by their limitations, and instead they take on challenges that they think will improve their current limits as a player. It's not based on the success of how many levels you beat. It's based on your current mindset and your willingness to continue forward in your grind to become a better player.
You're wrong.
Being competitive with yourself.
That is the entry of being a competitive player in the first place. Now, as someone who's beaten a few list demons for a few good years now, I'd say that I have a pretty good understanding of how hard the skill ceiling of the game really is. For those that
In my opinion, a good comp player is someone who's good at almost every single skill set. I mean, that's fair too. If you consider a good competitive player based on their mechanical skill, that's fair. I think mine's much more a philosophical one. I think if in the name competitive, you need to have a growth mindset and to be willing to continue to push your limits. I think that is the important thing that then allows you to get a good skill set.
Don't have an idea, I'll talk a little bit from experience. Whatever your hardest demon is, if you want a rough idea of difficulty, do a practice run of Firework, the top 41 extreme demon. After a long enough time period, I actually managed to beat that level and I thought I was really good at the game. You see, the difference from Firework, which is the 41th hardest level in the game, and Grief, which is an upcoming top 1, is probably bigger than whatever your hardest level is to Firework. You would genuinely beat Firework faster as a jump from Cataclysm than beat Grief as a jump from Firework. The gap from 41 to number 1 is bigger than the gap from 1,500 to number 40. It is ridiculous. So, with a skill ceiling being so high, I would generally say that a good enough competitive player is someone who managed to beat a list.
Dude, I love the way he rolls his T's. Competitive. I can't even do it. I love it though.
Level or something close to it. Since the list always changes.
Doggy's basically jumping to Grief then? Yeah, because it's a jump from Acheron, right? I think Doggy's even said that himself. Like I heard Doggy say somewhere that like if he knew how big of a jump it was, he would have played like more more difficult levels on the way there. Like if he knew how long Grief took him, he would have like played a few more difficult levels. Which makes sense. It's hard to know when you're jumping like what the best move is in order to improve your skill set.
The game gets progressively harder. At the time,
yeah, he said that in the Vernosis interview. Yeah, I think I saw that part.
Of making this video, I'd say a good example of a good enough player is someone who beat levels around the difficulty of Kinos, Zodiac, Crimson Planet, Renevant, and Cognition.
Yeah, Tidal Wave, yeah.
Levels outside of this range a little bit, like Cobwebs and Bloodlust, are also fine in my opinion, since they are relatively close to the list, to the point where you could comfortably go from them to a current list demon. Obviously, like before, a bad player in the competitive space is the opposite of what we just talked about. It's someone who isn't close to the difficulty of levels around the top 150 range. Just to clarify, and I want to make my...
But do you base something... Again, I think this is an issue that a lot of GD players and the GD community has. That you only really base the way you... The way a lot of you weigh players is based on what they have done versus their potential. And I understand that a player's potential is basically impossible to measure compared to empirical data of like what they have done. But it's like, who's to say, bro? I mean, that's really discounting a lot of things because and a lot of people would agree with this. Like, I think the best Geometry Dash player probably hasn't even played the game yet, you know? Like the best Geometry Dash player of all time. So like, that's why I take issue with the whole idea of like the only good competitive player is someone who has already proven themselves as like a main list player. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a little narrow-minded.
I'm still very clear here. If you beat an extreme demon, no matter where it is on any list, you are significantly better than 99% of the game's total player base. You are still extremely good.
But I understand, like, I also understand the perspective. A lot of GD players, they're like, proof is in the pudding. Like, you have to nut up or shut up. If you're not able to display a reasonable set of high skill in the game in the shape of beating high-level extreme demons, people aren't going to give you the time of day. And I get it. I get that to a degree. But I do think that, like, there's a little more to all of this that we do than just what we can see and what we can analyze data-wise.
Good. And in the top 1% players of all time, it's just that in that 1%.
But it's like sport. You're good since you made a very good performance, not because you have the potential. Again, like, I see that school of thought. I just think too often we discount potential in the name of only output and outcomes. And that's just something philosophically I disagree with. Like, I think it's a limiting.
And you are at the bottom of it. So don't worry, you're still cracked, Jimmy. And so the last question is, when are you
like, just because someone has not performed yet does not mean, like, that doesn't discount them as a competitive player. Does that make sense?
Better than average in the competitive space. Again, the list always changes, but at the time of making this video, I think levels around the difficulty of Black Blizzard and the RGB are a good idea of a competitive player that is better than average. They can beat most extreme demons by this point, and the only ones out of their skill range are the top 30% hardest extreme demons in the game. Everything up until that point, so about 99.9% of all levels in the game, this player can...
The top 1 player is definitely coming out of nowhere. For example, W Popoff came out of absolute nowhere and beat Slaughterhouse and so many list demons. Yeah, bro, like a lot of these top players, people even talk about that with Zoink. Like, you know, Zoink jumped up to Zodiac and then he just never kind of stopped, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, you never know when a player is just going to come out of nowhere or they're going to have that cathartic experience playing the game where their brain's just like, I get it now. And then they just go on a tear, bro. That's exactly, thank you for bringing that up. That's what I mean. Like, it's hard to say because any moment someone could just like jump out of the bushes and suddenly be crazy.
Complete with almost no issue. Out of the hundreds of...
So was Zoink not competitive until he was delivering on levels like Zodiac, or was he competitive even when he was grinding in the shadows and no one really knew about him? I would argue the latter. Again, it goes back to what we've talked about. If a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? It's like, yes. Just because you haven't perceived something doesn't take away the value of it.
Thousands of levels rated in this game, this player is only unable to beat 300 of them. So if you're in this category, congrats, you are extremely good. Now, since I covered everything else in this video so far, I'm also gonna explain what I believe is a top player and a pro player in this game. In my opinion, I think a top player can be...
Now, this is different, right? Now we're talking about top players and pro players. I would say, yes, if you're talking about like a pro player probably does need a little more of that proven skill. But again, maybe this is semantics. When I think competitive, I think someone who is willing to test their limits as a player. Therefore, if you're playing GD game day 1 and you're on Stereo Madness and you're trying to improve, I would consider you competitive. If you're playing the game just to have fun and you're not worried about improving your skill set within the game, that is also fine. It's a non-competitive player.
Every single level. Out of all of the rated levels in the entire game and history of it, a top player can undeniably beat all of them. There is not a single rated level that they cannot complete. A pro player, on the other hand, I'd say is someone who could almost beat all the levels in the game, except for levels that are probably in the top 10, 20, or 30. If they could beat any level up until that point, they are a pro player in my eyes. But yep, this is what I believe makes a good Geometry Dash player.
Call me old-fashioned. I feel like a pro player is someone who is playing the game at a professional level. Just that simple. Which I guess is hard because obviously, like, to really make money off of Geometry Dash, you kind of need to be a successful content creator. It's not like there are a bunch of, it's not like Geometry Dash is an esport where there's money in like tournaments or whatever. So there probably is a little more delineation that needs to happen there. But call me old-fashioned.
Player and a good competitive player.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's usually like a pro player in the title is someone who does it professionally. Profession is someone who like makes money off of doing it.
As someone who's been in the community for nearly a decade now and have thousands of hours in the game.
But again, that might just be semantics.
If you think I was wrong or just have a different opinion, let me know what it is in the comments.
No, I don't think you're wrong. I have a differing opinion, but I thought this video was really awesome and it had us talk about some pretty interesting stuff.
I always...
Yeah, by definition, I'm a pro player because I make money off of GD. I'm not like... By the definition of this video, I'm obviously not a pro player. I'm not playing like top levels, but I understand like what he's trying to represent here, right? I understand. I don't know. I think this is one of those things where language kind of fails us.
Pin the best comment on the video subject and read what you guys have to say. If you have any good video ideas you want my opinion on, I made a channel on my Discord server where you could join and let me know. You should low-key join that anyway because I'm very active. If you like the video, subscribe, and YouTube thinks you'll enjoy the video on the screen, so maybe you should watch it next.
We already reacted to this one. That was also a good video. I like Theos's videos, bro. I think he brings up some really interesting topics and they flow really well. And yeah, it was just fun. That was good. Great video. I agree. And it goes to show, like, we discussed all this stuff, chat, and it was all very civil. Like, we got a better idea of where, like, some of us, like, conceptualize this stuff and where we don't. And yeah, it was just really good, stimulating conversation. So I appreciate that. Thank you all for remaining civil. I think it's cool to kind of talk about this sort of thing and figure out where our brains are at with it. And W Theos, as always, for the video. Guys, be sure to go in the description, join the Discord, go to the React to This Teach channel, drop videos that you want me to react to on this channel, and also fire react to videos that you see there. That is the best way for me to know which ones y'all want me to react to. do that. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Did you like that? Don't even pretend like you didn't. You made it that far in the video. Well, did you know that I stream Monday through Friday on Twitch and YouTube, and you could catch me live and get to be a part of the experience when it happens? Also, if you don't care about that, or otherwise you want to see more of the video that you just watched, link in the description to watch the full VOD. Do that, please. I have a black eye because I play basketball sometimes. Bye. Oh,